Hello and welcome back to Spirit Lounge. Hope you guys are doing really well. Next installment of the Apocrypha. So this one's going to be pretty short. It's the Psalms of Solomon. I haven't actually written out all the Psalms because they're not like the Psalms you would be used to in the New Testament, which I've read one or two of those Psalms. They're more like stories really and thoughts of Solomon rather than Psalms. But let's just go through what they are. Okay. So as I said, I haven't actually gone through each and every one of these because it wasn't relevant. There wasn't anything relevant that I felt in them. So the Psalms of Solomon, they are the apocryphal psalms attributed to Solomon, of course, and they're written between the first and second century BC. Of course, the Apocrypha is a collection of books. It's really are testaments and texts and not scriptures. They look at historical theology and history and some spiritual content around Yahweh and other messengers and Satan and demons as well and sacrifices and rituals and so on and so forth. And it goes through all the Moses down to the Abrahamic line as well and talks about the Adam and Eve and very much Old Testament type text. So we continue on to Psalm 1. I cried to the Lord when I was in distress. Sinners assailed. He will listen to me, for I am full of righteousness. I have become rich with children. They become insolent in their prosperity. And without understanding, their sins were in secret, beyond those of the heathen before them, and polluted holy things. Psalm 2. The sinner waxed proud. You did not restrain him. The nations ascended your altar. Trampled sons of Jerusalem, defined the holy things, and were taken in grievous captivity. They had done evil. Heavens were angry. Daughters of Jerusalem were defiled in judgment, with unnatural intercourse, wiped out of their memorial from the earth. So this was, I don't think this was the flood. O Lord, has your hand been heavy on Israel? Rebuke them in your wrath. God showed the insolent one, slain on the mountains of Egypt. For the mercy of the Lord will be on them that fear him in judgment. Distinguish between the righteous and the sinner. The Lord is good to them that call on him in patience. Blessed is the Lord forever before his servants. I don't agree with any of this. God has mercy on those who fear him, who worship him in fear of wrath. This is not the divine that I know, and I've said this many times throughout the Apocrypha, and this is why I'm probably never going to read the Old Testament, because I think this is laden with this kind of text, and I feel the Apocrypha is maybe very, very similar in terms of its content to the Old Testament. So for me, I'm probably very unlikely to be reading that and providing any teaching on it of my own, because I think the Apocrypha itself has kind of done that enough for me, I think. So I'll be doing the New Testament for sure at some point. Psalm 3, a psalm of Solomon concerning the righteous. Why do you sleep, O my soul, and do not bless the Lord? Sing a new song, be wakeful against his awakening. The righteous remember the Lord. The steadfastness of the righteous is from God. Righteous continually searches his house, to utterly remove all iniquity. Sinner stumbles and curses his life, but they that fear the Lord will rise to continuous life, and their life will be in the light of the Lord, and will come to an end no more. So what does this mean? I'm going to interpret this instead of a different way. So, but they fear the Lord that will rise to continuous life. So for me, what does that mean, fear? It means, the interpretation for me, if we want to take it in its literal sense, is that they understand that this is their true home. This is the realization that this material, physical, human life isn't their life. And that they are going to be ascending into the true home after this life is over. So they don't fear, they seek, and we seek to understand the challenge that's invisible to them. So the unknowing drives fear, or a anxiety to the unknown. And it says here, the Lord will rise to those who fear the Lord rise to continuous life. What is that? This is that life has moved away from awareness. So this is fear. When you move away from awareness of the divine, you have loss. When you have loss, you have fear. So when you're moving towards the divine, you have a fear towards what you're moving towards, because you've forgotten so much of it. Continuous life is merely the soul awakening into its spirit. Continuous life is always spiritual continuous life, energetic continuous life, not material, physical, matter, materials life. And never ceases as live in a state of grace in the body. So we live in a state of grace in the body by executing our soul intentions through the breath of the Spirit itself, through the vibration of the Spirit. And this gives us a sense of self beyond the physical. This is continuous life in body, because we have all constant continuous life out of the body as well. So that would be my interpretation of it, if that's something that resonates with you. Psalm 4, a conversation of Solomon with the men pleasers. O profane man in the counsel of the pious, the heart is far removed from the Lord. And you are extravagant in speech, severe in speech and in judgment. He himself guilty. His tongue lies when he makes contract with an oath. And by night let God remove those that live in hypocrisy. The man-pleaser who utters law guilefully, his eyes are fixed like the serpent to destroy the wisdom with words of transgressors. His words are deceitful, and through that he accomplished his wicked desire. He lays waste to a house, give wing to desire. His soul is not satisfied. The Lord will deliver them from guileful men and sinners. Psalm 5. Psalm of Solomon. O Lord God, you are good and merciful, the refuge of the poor. Do not silently disregard me. Who then can take anything of all that you have made, except yourself to give? When we are in distress, we call on you for help. Well, it's not just in distress, of course. This is we should converse with the divine always, every day, in prayer and here in meditation, in silence. Making glad the soul of the humble by opening your hand. Your gift is great. Happy is he whom God remembers. Blessing of the Lord. Blessed is the glory of the Lord, for he is our King. Psalm 6. In hope of Solomon, happy is the man whose heart is fixed to call on the name of the Lord. I agree with that. Happiness, contentment, peace and silence is what's achieved when you're in that narrow passage. Remember the broad and the narrow. And that's when you're seeking and working in the purposeful nature that your soul actually divinely intended you to follow. Saved, the works of his hands are preserved by the Lord. His soul will not be troubled. He will not be dismayed. When his heart is at peace, he sings to the name of God. The Lord accomplishes every request of the soul that hopes for him. This for me is when you're living your divine intended purpose, then every request is laid before you. In fact, your life is laid before you. And the things that you require in life are already given. They're all just waiting for you to pass through them. And anything you require and desire outside of that is also given to you, is also presented to you. As you lay out the seeds of good karma and good grace before you and in front of you and with you in your present and through the paths and the trail you leave in your past, these blessings are constantly laid out before you, and you don't even have to ask. You don't even have to, you just ask actually. Just converse, but you don't need to chase. There's very little manifestation to be done. It's just trust and giving, complete openness in trust. That's the hardest thing actually. We all, no one's imperfect in that, neither am I. Okay, Psalm 10. I've missed a couple out there because they weren't much relevance. Psalm 10, a hymn of Solomon. Happy is the man whom the Lord remembers with reproving. He restrains from the way of evil, is cleansed. It may not be multiplied, for the Lord is good to them that endure disciplining. Lord is on them that love him in truth. The testimony of the Lord is on the ways of men in his visitation. for God is good and merciful forever. I like the word, the sentence here, Lord is on them that love him in truth. This is an important sentence. We see many who attend churches. We see many who attend synagogues, temple, mosques, caves in mountaintops, whatever it is, the place of devotion. And they pray and do rituals, they do their prayers, they sing the hymns, they do practices in festivals in certain times of year. But alongside that, they perform acts of vengeance and violence. They are false. They don't understand. They operate and walk in a false delusion of truth, an illusion to external following of grace. But when they're not showing that false face, they're actually living in a frequency of darkness and operating in that state. There are many who do this. So don't be distracted or confused just because someone sits in a church and someone sings a hymn and someone says an oath on a Bible or any other text that they're doing it in truth. You shall know them by their actions and their words and their intentions, and they'll be exhibited in the life that they're living and in the way that they're living outside of those times when they're trying to be righteous and pious. So be careful of that. Psalm 14, a hymn of Solomon. Faithful is the Lord to them that love him in truth. The law which he commanded us that we might live, but not so are the sinners and transgressors. Their delight is in fleeting corruption. They do not remember God. They known him before him at all times, the secrets of the heart before they come to pass. Psalm 15, a hymn of Solomon. For help to the pious, when my soul slumbered being far from the Lord. I had all but slipped down to the pit, when I was far from God, well nearly poured out of death. He pricked me up as a horse. O God, for you have helped me to say, help me to my salvation. Establish the works of my hands before you. My goings in the remembrance of you. Protect my tongue and my lips with words of truth. Put anger and reasoning, wrath far from me. Support my soul with goodwill and cheerfulness. And I think that's a very good psalm. That's one of my most favourite psalms of Solomon, actually, and I hope that resonated with you there. Okay, in Psalm 17, a psalm of Solomon, with song of the king. O Lord, you are our king forever and ever, for our soul glories in you. We hope in God, our God is forever with mercy. Faithful is the Lord in all his judgments. Lord his God, and he will not permit unrighteousness, nor will there dwell with them any man that knows wickedness. So I think the favourite one was one prior to this, so that was my favourite. So that brings us to the end of the Psalms of Solomon. Remember, the second coming will always be you. It always has been you. This will become apparent whether in this life or another life, or through your passage through scriptures and texts, and through religions and practices of any other kind, New Age or whatever it might be. When you enter that narrow passage, you understand that the coming, the revelation, the salvation, the second coming is always going to be you traversing through to grace through yourself, to the all that is and the all that we are and the who is, and channeling gnosis through yourself in such power and grace that it will bring tears of joy and elation to you. And as I say, once you're moving to through that passage, you'll see that the path is laid before you, and make it transformative, as in it needs to be part of life. So I want to say thank you again for listening to this. I do appreciate it. The video tends to freeze a lot on this at the moment. I'm looking at the video encoding shortly, but I want to say thank you again for listening. I hope you enjoyed it, and God bless you all till next time. Thank you.